So let's just talk about how to attack the shotgun ankle lock and like the gripping variations we'll use for that, and some different setups related to it, just because we haven't looked at some ankle lock stuff in quite a while. So if we just talk about like gripping first and like the main problems we sort of run into when we're trying to attack ankle locks, like this is generally why we'll use a shotgun ankle lock. So if I talk about just like how we're going to grip, what I want to do is I want to take my elbow in nice and deep, and I'm trying to touch the heel just below my pec muscle here. But I don't want to have it protruding out in front, so you shouldn't actually be able to see the heel from where you guys are positioned. And I want to take basically my right arm as deep as possible, but I want to stop my opponent from turning their knee inside and taking their heel away from my rib cage. And this is where framing on the inside of the shin is important. And then I want to just lock over my own wrist here. So rather than locking like a figure four style grip here, we're actually going to take a wrist to wrist grip. And I'm looking to try and use the heel of my palm here to push the shin. So now when Janice tries to turn her knee inside, I'm using my elbow pulling in against the heel and my hand framing against the shin here to keep the leg, look, the angle on the leg that I want. Now when I go to try and finish my ankle lock, I want to generally work with a hip post. When I'll take pressure off the ankle. Sorry, darling.
It's like crushing my foot.
When I want to finish, I want to make sure that as I go to extend, I'm able to like create distance between me and my partner. If I just try and finish on an outside actually here, I'll do it with a loose grip. As I extend, because there's nothing pushing on my training partner, it's easy for Janice to just move forward with me, like just driving towards me, and I lose any extension I've got. So I want to be able to essentially think about taking the toes of my partner's foot away from them, but if they're able to move with me, we're going to lose any sort of pressure we have on the ankle lock. So when I go to try and finish, I want to make sure I work with a hip post. But when I do this, if I just take like my heel just on the hip here, it's very easy for Janice actually just clear my foot off of the hip, and then now we're back to the same sort of position. So when I take a hip post to finish, and I'm happy to do this after I establish my grip, when I do this, I want to take the blade of my foot and I want to run it across like the crease of the hip here. So I want to bury it like in here, and I'm going to point my knee towards the ceiling, because now I'm driving down in towards the floor. So now when Janice goes to clear my foot off her hip, should be significantly tougher. Right, and you'll run into problems if you pinch your knee down. You can definitely get the finish and you can get pressure in your training partner, but it's going to be a little bit easier for them to clear the foot off the hip. So I'd say it's generally preferable to think about the blade of your foot almost like trying to press down in towards the hip here. So when I set this up, I might take my shotgun grip here. I've got the heel just on my rib cage, pushing into the inside of the shin, locking wrist to wrist, and I want to take a hip post here, and then now I can go to extend away on my training partner. Now there's going to be different ways that you try and set this up. Like I like using variations of, say for example, taking like an undercross grip here to start punching this through, setting this up. It might be I'm threatening outside heel hooks first. They're turning and hiding their heel, in which case now I might push on the shin to allow me to set my grip nice and deep, just like this here, and then I'll work towards my hip post. But generally, it's going to be easy if I start using other types of leg entanglement. So if we start now in, say, for example, like an Arimiyashi Garami here, now it's easy for me to create distance from my training partner. I'll just take like a standard Achilles grip here with the intention of controlling my partner's leg, and then now I'm going to think about scooting my butt backwards and pummeling to this sort of false hook position. Now, the reason why I want to use a false hook is Janice is going to be trying to push her heel in towards me to make it hard for me to get exactly the grip that I want. So what I'm going to do is use my hook here to extend out, pushing her foot away from me, and see how it sets the heel just underneath my pec. Now I can lock my grip nice and high, and then I'll switch towards my hip post, and I'll go into my finish. Alright, so now if we start talking about attacking ankle locks in like a more of a competition setting, where you're more likely to end up setting up ankle locks is actually going to be against an opponent who doesn't want to be put down towards the floor. Because anytime I sit someone down towards, let's say I'm trying to set up my ankle lock, so I've sat my partner down towards the floor to set this up, and they're doing a good job defending it. I always have the threat of just taking top position, and now I'm looking to try and pass, and the benefit here is either you've scored on the person or you're just taking top position, because then you're able to start actually putting pressure on their guard. So a lot of good setups for ankle locks are actually going to come from an opponent that doesn't want to stay on the floor. So let's say if Janice is just kneeling, she's just down on one knee here, I like to a lot of the time set up my ankle lock from an outside archie here, And now I have, I'll generally have my other hand just free, sort of like to post on this knee, things like this here, like strip grips if I need to. And what I'm going to look to do is I can either work this false hook that we talked about here to set up the ankle lock and start pushing out. And then we can just go the same way. And I want to make sure, again, I'm using the frame on the inside of the shin here and my elbow pulling inside to start setting up my ankle lock. But I generally find that against a standing opponent, it's very easy for them to keep weight turning down in their knee here, and it's going to be difficult for me to get that external rotation to get the ankle lock I want. Now, in situations like this, I can do things like reaching through to my own elbow to reinforce this by turning towards the inside, especially if like we start turning and ending up in these belly down situations here. Now I don't need a hip post anymore, and I'll just simply think about extending from here to finish or onto my extension. But if we want to stop the person when they're down on one knee, turning their knee inside at all, a better way to try and set this up now would be from a Y guard. So I'm worried about the person attacking this inside heel hook, so I always make sure that, yeah, exactly, like attacking this from here, like the Gianni Grippo Rippo, where he like just sent it towards the floor. So I want to make sure I'm pointing my foot, retracting my leg nice and shallow to see how my heel is inside of basically Janice's hip. So yeah, exactly. Now she tries to dig for the heel. There's not that exposure there. And then rather than pummeling with the foot, I like to make a pummel with my knee here. And you can even step on the hip here if you want to. And what I like to do is use this now, the back of my shin, my shin to push on the back of the knee to extend out. And then I can set up my ankle lock. And I actually like finishing from this position here, but you can also start thinking about switching back and either squaring yourself up with the sky here to try and finish, or you can start thinking about turning everything towards the inside and ending up in these belly down situations. But I generally find against a good opponent, I can actually just work from the Y guard here. Like I generally find this is just sufficient for me to actually start getting the finish that I want. But yeah, if you need like other options, you can either start thinking about switching to almost like a reap and forcing the person belly down, or squaring yourself back up with the sky here and then looking to try and finish. So if we just look at that one more time, that transition, let's say actually if you're standing first, we might be playing an outside ashi here because this is good for when a person's good at high legging. And especially when someone's on 2 feet here, making these transitions can be tough because they've got weight in this foot and they can start thinking about peeling your feet away and starting to go on high step passing. So we generally want to try and off balance them down to a knee because then this takes away that threat. So I might be thinking about controlling pinching my, actually we'll pivot a little bit and we'll just scoot this way. So what I might be doing here is keeping my elbow pinched down towards the heel and looking to use my legs to off balance out in this direction to knock her to the floor. But this is generally not that easy to do, so if we come back, what's more common is that the person drops down towards a knee. Yeah, I'm just going to pivot a little bit. That's okay. So it might be here, I'm going to off balance, the person drops down towards a knee, I'm happy to use my hand to frame here, I'm going to unlock and I'm going to look to turn to the inside, keeping the ankle elevated because now there's no longer any high step passing. You might even be thinking about framing on the inside of the knee here as the person goes to try and drive in and put weight on this foot to help keep this elevated. And then I make a pummel towards a Y guard. And now there's just no chance of the foot getting put down on the floor. And then same as before, looking to extend. So armpit, I can tuck my elbow inside, frame on the shin, I'm pinching my elbows in towards my body, and I can finish from here or square myself up towards the sky here.